Our next speaker, Mr. Abin Choudhury. He's the VP Operations from Deque. Abin has over 18 plus years of experience in consultative sales, marketing, business development, and IT operations. Being a startup founder with solid entrepreneurial expertise to foster revenue growth, scale teams, and nurture organizational culture. He would be speaking on the topic Bridging the Gap, the importance of digital accessibility and empowering inclusions through accessibility tools. Abin, I hand over the stage to you.
Thank you so much, everyone. I know it's a little late in the evening, and I would be kind of talking about the bridging the gap, right? You know, before I kind of start talking about bridging the gap, I was thinking about, doing a very quick exercise. We've had lunch. It's been a long session. Let's do a quick exercise. I'm sure all of us have their mobile phones available, handy. Can we maybe just quickly take out our mobile phone and open the shopping app that we use and just add any item that you like into your shopping cart. Let's take quick 20 seconds. All right, awesome, done, great, thank you. Now, let's do the next exercise. Let's come back to the home page of the shopping app, and I want all of you to close your eyes and add the same item that you just added in your shopping cart in the next 20 seconds. Let's see how many of you get it right. Yep, close your eyes. Go ahead. Right? All right, great. Done? All right, can I see the hands who got it correct? Wow, I don't see a single individual. All right. You might be wondering, why is this guy asking us to do all this exercise, right? Think about it. What you just did in the last 1 minute of our discussion, this is a life of an individual who is blind. This is the experience that they go through, right? And, I just wanted all of you to understand that how difficult it is, right, to think about what they go through every day, right? Right from start trying to add something in the shopping cart to booking a cab or whatever, right? Okay, so quickly to kind of talk about myself. My name is Abin Choudhury. I'm the VP of Global Sales and Operations for Deque. I've been with Deque now for over 5 years. I come with around 20 plus years of experience. About Deque, I think many of you might know, and I just want to add a little bit of liner about Deque. We are an organization which is into the digital accessibility business for the last 23 years. We don't do anything apart from digital accessibility. That's our core area. That's all we do. And we have been focusing on ensuring that we create a 360-degree journey for any organization that is looking to implement accessibility, right? Now the exercise that we did now, I was focusing on individual who is blind. But is that the only disability? Because I've heard a lot of times, people say, okay, testing, and then we do screen reader testing, and I'm done, right? But that's not it, right? We officially have, the WCAG says there are 5 official disabilities, right? Visual, hearing, motor, speech, and cognitive, right? Now, because of all these disabilities, whatever solutions we are building, we need to think about all forms of disability, not just one form of disability, and we think, okay, everything will be sorted with that, right? Now that we have looked into this, let's understand where is the demand of digital accessibility. If you look at the data that I'm showing here, and I'll read it out for anyone who is who needs visual assistance. 15% of the world's population is suffering from some form of disability, right? And 75% of the Americans, they kind of say that they use internet on a daily basis for getting something and are experiencing disability, right? Think about the market size. And the disposable income that the community has to offer is around $6 trillion. That's the market, right? And if this is the market, then what is the current market stage as of now, right? Let's look at that as well. The current market stage is, we looked at some data and we figured out that, with a data of around 10 lakh websites, each website homepage has at least 52 accessibility issues, right? The odd part is, if it is an e-commerce or shopping websites, it has 47% more accessibility issues, right? And we have been hearing this buzzword for quite some time now that there are certain overlay solutions, widget solutions. You implement that and you make your website accessible. When 67% of accessibility practitioners looked at that data, they said it's just a band-aid. It just doesn't work. And you would say, why doesn't it work? Because it's as simple. Anyways, the life of the people with disabilities is complex. And now what you're trying to do is you're trying to make it more complex, because with every site they visit, you would want them to learn about different widgets, different overlays, and you expect them to be able to use it. Versus, why not implement a solution which can make sure that whatever website they go through, they have the same experience, right? And because of all of this, the number of lawsuits are increasing, right? Because of various stricter laws in different countries. And if I look at it, when I looked at this data, it was like, in the year 2020 alone, there was more than 2,500 plus high-volume lawsuits, right? So this is the data, and with this data, what I definitely want you to understand is this gap of the demand to the supply need, or the concern to fixing, needs to be addressed, right? Now, to take things a little deeper, what happened is, okay, we now understand there's a gap, but this gap got extended further during the pandemic, right? The couple of years of pandemic changed the digital world altogether. What happened is, the medical requirements shifted online, right? The retail industry shifted online, purchasing, shopping shifted online, education shifted online, recruitment shifted online. So pretty much everything went online, right? But then, what did not move at the same pace was, coverage of the accessibility implementation on these solutions. So we moved the digital world in a fast pace, but in that pace, what we did is we just ignored, the requirement of the people with disability. And because of this, there was two kind of issues that we observed. One was, there was a business side of impact, and then there was also an individual side of impact. The business side of impact was the following. there was a huge rise in the number of lawsuits. And businesses were struggling because of that. And on the other side, what we did is we created a digital divide, right? We just thought, people would catch up with it, but we just did not think deeper. So, with all of this data, what I want to go and show you a little bit more data around how the businesses got impacted. So if you see here, I'm showing an analysis done by Seyfarth with the number of lawsuits, the Title III lawsuits that got created over this period of time. If you look at 2013, the number of lawsuits were 2,700. And you look at 2021, the number of lawsuits are 11,400. Right? And in addition to that, if you look at the data as of today, there is more than 23% rise in the number of lawsuits, and typically 10 lawsuits are being filed every day. Right? So this kind of also talks about why it is important for us to think about digital accessibility and take it mainstream. Now, I also wanted to bring some attention now back to, so far we have seen, why and how the gap is there in the accessibility increasing. But now, let's talk about some of the most common issues that we have been observing, right? On different websites, different pages, as we evaluated. And, these issues that we've been observing, now, one aspect of digital accessibility is it needs to follow the WCAG guidelines, the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. And all the various laws that are being defined in various countries, which are becoming stricter day by day, they are kind of like, for example, the ADA, the American Disability Act. In Europe now we have the law, and it has been there for quite some time, but it's now becoming stricter, which is the EN 301549, right? Australia, New Zealand, Germany, France, everyone is now seeing a huge rise in the pressure in terms of implementing digital accessibility, right? And most importantly, if you see, these are the pattern of issues that you would normally see on any websites, right? You would see, poor color contrast. You would see missing alt text, empty links, missing form labels, right? Missing, like the empty buttons, missing document language, right? So these are some of the issues that we have been seeing. Now, let's now talk about how we may be able to bridge this gap. That's very important. Now, many companies that we have been working with, that we talk to, they come at different stages of maturity level with accessibility, right? Some of them, they come to us at the very basic stage. Some of them come to us at the intermediate stage. Some of them are very mature orgs, like they've already taken up accessibility seriously, and they're taking some measures. But what I want to emphasize here is that, as I was hearing in the panel discussion, it's not that one solution fits all, right? Every stage of the company needs certain hand-holding as you move into the accessibility journey. I cannot expect that, an organization which is at the basic stage would be able to use our tools effectively and, become 100% accessibility compliant. It doesn't work in that way, right? So what we need to ensure here is that if a company is at a basic stage, we need to understand what they would need, right? They might not have the team who is trained on accessibility. They might not have the people who know what to do. And that's where Deque comes into picture. And what we do is we help them to get the assessments done. We help them to make sure, whatever they're building, we guide them through that accessibility process and then help them to get to a certification stage. If you're in the, the intermediate stage, in the middle stage, what typically happens there is, you have team members who are a little trained. They know a little bit about the concept. Okay, they know, we should be doing screen reader testing and stuff, but they don't know the whole story. And what you want them to know is, you want them to be trained in the accessibility concepts, right? And then you also want them to execute certain assessment exercises with experts to figure out if they're doing the right thing. And if you're at the mature stage, where you've already done certain of these exercises, you have a well-trained team, that's when the tooling solutions work perfectly, right? So the experience changes based on what stage of the company and the accessibility maturity you are in. And most importantly, what I'm trying to show on my left side is a model where I'm talking about being dependent on third-party organizations to get your accessibility audits done, to becoming self-sustainable in terms of taking care of the accessibility journey altogether, right? Now that we understand that, this is the journey that's required, let me quickly talk about how we have designed our entire tooling solution, right? So what we did is we started designing things in a way where we said, we need to look at things from the perspective of design. We need to look at things from the perspective of development. We need to look at things from the perspective of testing, and we also need to look at things from the perspective of continuous monitoring. And all of this should be tagged in along with the learning capability that we have. So we have a tool for the designer stage called as Axe for Designers, which is a free Figma plugin. We have tool at the front-end development stage, which is called as Axe DevTools, with a free flavor and obviously some paid flavors to it. We have Axe Auditor for the testing part of the platform, and then we also have Axe Monitor for the continuous monitoring. And to top it up all, we have the Deque University portal, where you can learn in depth about accessibility, right? So, now that we've also looked at what we have to offer, let's kind of look at what is the common accessibility practice as of today, right? And how most of the organization practice accessibility. They practice accessibility mostly at the testing stage, the QA stage, right? And some of them do practice accessibility at the production stage as well, when customers come and say, oh, your application is not accessible, right? And because of that, what's happening is it is becoming super costlier to fix, right? And because of that, if you look at this data, where IBM says, if you are fixing accessibility at the post-production stage, the cost is 30x, versus if you were fixing accessibility at the QA stage, the cost is 12x, and if you were addressing accessibility right at the design stage, right, the cost is 1x, right? Now, what does this cause? It requires higher investment. It increases your production downtime. It may delay your planned release. It will absolutely ruin your customer experience because it does not show the inclusivity. And finally, it will lead to your shrinking top line or revenue, right? So this is the common practice. Now, all of you might be wondering, okay, Abin, we hear the common practice. But, smart gen, what's the smart way of doing it? The smart way of doing it is shift left, right? And if you shift left, you implement accessibility right at the design stage. Take care of accessibility at the development stage. You make sure that the same experience of accessibility testing extends to your QA stage to a certain extent. And I'm not talking about all our tools, because it can make sure that you can achieve up to 100% compliance. But what I definitely want to emphasize here is that if you're doing all of this, what we were looking at is the negative numbers previously, all these turn positive, right? So you now require less investment. Your production downtime decreases. It helps you with timely releases. It improves your customer experience. And obviously, it improves your revenue, right? So just one of our tool, which is Axe DevTools, can take care of at least this cycle, right? Where it can test things at the design stage. With the Axe linter, you can analyze your code as you're writing it. with the browser extension, you'll be able to go ahead and make sure that the HTML version is tested, and you've been able to take care of accessibility at least at the shift left stage, right? Now, we now understand that we did the smarter way of doing it. And until now, what we covered is what is the gap. We also covered how big is the gap. We also covered how to bridge this gap. Now, let's talk about why is it important to bridge this gap, right? Because I've been emphasizing lawsuit, 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 come on, right? But is lawsuit the only thing that because of which organization should be worried about digital accessibility? No, it is not, right? There are two more strong value propositions of implementing accessibility, right? One of the strong value prop is your business values, right? If you implement accessibility, you're promoting innovation. You're improving your brand equity. You're improving your market reach, because now you're able to cater to that audience who has been ignored for so many years, right? With that $6 trillion capability of spending, right? And then, of course, all of this helps you to reduce your legal risk, right? Now, the other aspect is the noble values. Accessibility is the right thing to do. It is not only for people with disability, it is for everyone. We have an aging population. We have people who suffer from temporary disabilities and permanent disabilities, right? So it's not about that, okay, I'm only thinking about one set of people, right? So the noble values, obviously you're promoting digital accessibility, you're opening up new opportunities, you're reducing dependencies, and think about it, like, I'll stop for that reducing dependencies. Think about it. How would be an experience of an individual who is suffering from disability? Let's take individual who is blind, being able to operate their own bank account independently. As of now, what they have to do is they have to depend on an individual to go ahead and do that, which is not okay, right? I'm sharing my personal information. Think about that individual who needs to go ahead and depend on someone to book their cab. It's not okay, right? So, important aspect is we want to enable self-confidence among every individual, just like we have, right? And because of this, I think, what's very important for us is to bridge this gap. So, I'm nearly towards the end of my talk, and what I would just like to emphasize here is let's transform the lives of everyone by implementing digital accessibility. Let's focus as a team, as a group, as an org, right, to give them a better life from being dependent by making them independent, right? So, as I come to the end of my talk, I think this is what I wanted to cover, and I hope I was able to pass on some messaging that helps all of you to think about it deeply now and take accessibility journey to the shift left concept. Thank you so much, guys.
Accessible guideline of any country, and then this tool will test the software as per that guidelines?
Absolutely, it is possible. You can customize your rule sets in our tools. But I also want to answer that question for you. Absolutely, you're right that the guidelines changes from country to country, right? But what is the guideline? What's the primary master book? The master book is WCAG, Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. Every country picks up the pieces of the Web Content Accessibility Guideline and modifies it. So as long as you're complying with all the regulations and the success criteria of WCAG, which this tool will allow you to do, you are pretty much safe in any country.
In addition to it, we can add our own rule set also.
Absolutely, you can add your own rule set to it.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other last one question? Okay, great. So my team is at the booth. If you want to catch up, I'll be at the booth. I'm happy to answer any more questions, clear any more doubts, And thank you so much, everyone. Have a great evening.
Thank you very much, Abin. It was wonderful, somebody talking about accessibility, which generally doesn't happen. A lot of credit must also go to the current Indian government, because if you see, a lot of government websites have now started talking about accessibility. You can see icons right on the top. For example, if you go to Aadhaar site, you might see some features of accessibility which were actually missing a few years back. So thank you very much. I will please ask Manjula to be on stage and felicitate Abin. Abin, please.